In the shadows of every city, behind every locked door, lies a story waiting to be told. Welcome to Dark Justice, where we uncover the darkest crimes, the mysteries that haunt history, and the minds of those who dared to defy the law. We will dive into solved cases, cold mysteries, and the chilling truths behind criminal legends. This is not just storytelling. This is where crime meets justice, and every detail matters. Subscribe, stay alert, and step into the darkness with us, because the story is just beginning. It was the crime that shocked the world. A nation's beloved hero, Charles Lindbergh, who had flown solo across the Atlantic, suddenly faced every parent's worst nightmare. On a cold March night in 1932, his infant son was taken from his nursery, sparking a desperate manhunt, a ransom, and ultimately, one of the most infamous trials in American history. Newspapers called it the crime of the century. But beneath the headlines lies a story of grief, betrayal, and unanswered questions that linger to this very day. It was 1927 when Charles Lindbergh became a global sensation. The Lone Eagle, the man who flew non-stop from New York to Paris, had become America's golden boy. Tall, clean-cut, admired by millions. When he married Anne Morrow, daughter of a wealthy diplomat, the Lindberghs became American royalty. In 1930, their first child, Charles Jr., was born. To the public, it was the perfect fairy tale family. But the fairy tale would soon turn into a nightmare. On the evening of March 1st, 1932, the Lindberghs were at their estate in Hopewell, New Jersey. The baby had been put to bed around 7:30 p.m. A nurse checked on him at 10 p.m. and discovered the crib was empty. A hastily written ransom note was found on the windowsill. It demanded $50,000, a fortune at the time. The police were called, and in minutes, the Lindbergh estate became the epicenter of a media storm. The scene was chilling. A crudely built ladder was found outside the nursery window. Muddy footprints trailed across the floor. The ransom note, filled with broken English and odd symbols, seemed both amateurish and menacing. Detectives swarmed the grounds. Journalists crowded the gates. America's greatest hero had been struck at his heart, and now the world was watching. "We have your child. Get the money ready. Do not involve the police." The Lindberghs were devastated. Charles, ever the stoic aviator, tried to maintain composure. But Anne was inconsolable. For weeks, the family lived in fear, waiting for word from the kidnappers. Soon, intermediaries began contacting the Lindberghs, claiming to have access to the kidnappers. One such man, John Condon, known as Jafsy, became a go-between. He delivered messages, carried cash, and eventually arranged the ransom payment. In April 1932, the ransom was finally paid, $50,000 in marked gold certificates. The kidnappers promised the child would be returned safely. But days passed, then weeks, and the Lindberghs' hope began to fade. On May 12, 1932, a truck driver walking near the Lindbergh estate made a grisly discovery. Just 4 miles from the house, in a shallow ditch, lay the decomposed body of a small child. The nation's worst fears were confirmed. Charles Lindbergh Jr. was dead. The autopsy revealed the child had been killed the night of the kidnapping. His skull had been fractured, likely during the abduction itself. The ransom had been taken, but the baby had never stood a chance. The discovery plunged the country into mourning. Millions followed the story, their grief turning into outrage. Who could commit such an act against America's most admired family? The FBI and local police launched one of the largest manhunts in American history. The key lay in the ransom money. Those marked gold certificates were slowly reappearing in circulation. Gas stations, shops, banks. In 1934, 2 years after the crime, a breakthrough came. A gas station attendant in New York accepted a $10 gold certificate and noticed it matched the Lindbergh ransom bills. The license plate written on the bill led police to a German immigrant, Bruno Richard Hauptmann. At his home, investigators found $14,000 of the ransom money hidden in his garage. Even more damning, wood in his attic matched the lumber used to build the kidnapper's ladder. The evidence seemed overwhelming. Hauptmann was arrested and charged with murder. The trial began in January 1935 in Flemington, New Jersey. It was a media circus. Reporters from around the globe packed the courtroom. Every word was broadcast, every photo splashed across front pages. Prosecutors painted Hauptmann as a cold, greedy criminal. They presented the ransom money, the ladder, and handwriting experts who swore the ransom notes matched Hauptmann's script. The defense argued otherwise. Hauptmann insisted he was innocent. He claimed the money had been left with him by a friend who later died. He denied ever seeing the Lindbergh baby, denied writing the ransom notes, denied everything. But the jury was unmoved. On February 13, 1935, Bruno Richard Hauptmann was found guilty of murder and sentenced to death. On April 3, 1936, Hauptmann was executed in the electric chair. Charles Lindbergh himself was present at the trial, but remained distant from the proceedings. For many Americans, justice had been served. The baby's killer was dead, and the nation could move forward. But for others, doubts lingered. Was the evidence truly airtight? Some experts later claimed the handwriting analysis was flawed. Others questioned whether Hauptmann had acted alone, or if he had been framed. Even decades later, conspiracy theories swirl. Was there an accomplice? Was the crime an inside job? Did powerful figures shield the truth to protect the Lindbergh's image? The Lindbergh kidnapping changed America forever. Public outrage led to the passage of the Lindbergh Law, making kidnapping a federal crime. It transformed police investigation methods, forensic science, and even how ransom money was tracked. For Charles and Anne Lindbergh, the tragedy left permanent scars. They left the US for a time, retreating from the spotlight. Their marriage endured, but grief always lingered. The Lindbergh baby became a symbol of lost innocence, and the case itself remains one of the most debated in American criminal history. The crime of the century ended with a conviction, but not with closure. Even today, nearly a century later, the Lindbergh kidnapping leaves us with one haunting truth. Sometimes, even when justice is delivered, the full story remains forever out of reach.